brutal, man.
Yeah, welcome to the world. When I world,
What, 10 weeks of what? 10 weeks of
10 weeks.
more games?
No, 10 weeks as a Giants fan.
get
It's
the
just
draft bullshit.
10 weeks of waiting for the
Uh
who's a keeper, who's not a keeper. Not wanting to win games, but at the same time, mad that we lose. It's just awful when your team is,
mhm.
you
Yeah, I
know,
want to be where Malik's at right now. Malik has been here where we at right now, but I want to be where Malik's at.
yeah, Malik spot. The Lions are
Look,
an exciting team, and exciting. Everything's exciting about the Lions. The head coach, the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, the quarterback is rejuvenated his whole career over there.
Shoot, even the
the
punter is
worst
exciting over
thing,
there.
Got
the worst thing about this is that feeling of dread because you feel that like we all do. Like we're happy, Lions fans are happy to be watching the team be successful and go through this and everything. But 30 plus years of futility
yeah.
tells us that, you know, it's just it's hard to continue being good for a long period of time. And so the teams that are able to do that, like shout out to the Pittsburgh Steelers, shout
Yeah.
out to
The Patriots
I
calling me
mean the Patriots with their 20 that run, like just to be able to wake up every season
and
and
no,
feel like
yeah.
if things break the way they're supposed to break for us, we got a chance. And
Shit, I
that's
wish I
that's
could wake
that's
up
a
like
that's a
that.
feeling that you just wish you could have for like just give me a good 10-year run of that. Like and I'll
Well,
be all right.
we could say we experienced that too on the baseball side. The Yankees are
Yeah,
always in the
yeah.
mix. So you get kind of numb to it. Like the Yankees made the World Series, and I was kind of like, oh, hum about it. Like, I wasn't really following the team. I'm still not a big fan of most of the people on that team like that. So I guess I don't know. Would you rather suck for not 30 years, but be bad, than just get like Kansas City? Kansas City was terrible as long as we were young in the 90s. They were bad. Dave Craig, a quarterback, Joe Montana, Derek Thomas, that whole team, they were never good enough to do much of anything except maybe get to the playoffs and lose. And now they are, the standard in the league. And that has to feel pretty good. So, I
Absolutely.
mean, a little bit of losing makes winning sweet. Whereas if you winning all the time, it kind of, I don't want to say lessens it, but it's not like when the Yankees turned it on in '96. That was great. I still have memories of being in school and standing up in class saying, we're gonna win this game tonight in '96. Where
Yeah.
I don't remember anything about this season. I promise you, I didn't watch one game this year. I didn't watch one until
Well,
they got to the playoffs, and I was like, let me see what this team is doing. And I still was like, ah. It's like, these are not the Yankees I remember rooting for. So, but man, the
well,
Lions, that's got to be sweet, man. I mean, I watched some of those Detroit games going into Green Bay in the rain. What was that? What's that stat? 25 consecutive like completions or touchdowns without an incompletion. Some ridiculous stat. I don't know what it was. You
with
probably
the
better than
Amon
me.
Ross St. Brown stat,
Yeah.
the Amon Ross stat. So yeah, he's completed. He hasn't thrown an incomplete pass to Amon Ross St. Brown since September.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
every pass he's thrown to Amon Ross St. Brown since September 22nd has been completed. I think
That's
it's like 30 or
crazy.
40 passes, something like that. Something
That is
ridiculous.
fucking nuts.
That is
Enjoy
ridiculous.
enjoy that. Penny Sewell is just destroying fools out there. I mean, enjoy that, man. Two good running
I will
backs,
try.
two
I
good
will
young
try.
running backs.
The
You
biggest
know?
thing, the biggest thing I will enjoy, and I think you, Levon, you, and we'll get started with the show after this. You and I have had this conversation. We talked about this with basketball, and and again, I never disagreed with your take on it. I just felt like there's different ways to skin to peel an egg, but um, having it be talent that you drafted, having it be talent that you know cultivated, that you've watched since their rookie season, you've watched them grow, you've watched them develop, and now you watch them become what they are, and everybody else that comes in around it just kind of molds to the standard, right? Your young
Yeah.
guys become the standard, your young guys become the core, and everybody else just kind of follows along suit. And that's the thing that sits well with me when you watch these Lions. It's not, you know, it's not a bunch of big name guys that just been, brought in from a bunch of different locations. It's guys like Gibbs and Arnold and Kirby Joseph and guys that nobody knew, when they got drafted and landed on the team that have like shaped us, and then so that's the part about this beautiful. But
yes,
I digress. Let's
Yeah.
get into the show.
And the Branch kid too.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to the Uptown Parlay podcast. It is week 10 of the NFL season, and we are currently watching the Ravens and the Bengals play second quarter, 7-7 second quarter in that game. I am your host. I'm Malik.
Hello?
And I'm joined by Levon and Anthony. What's going on, fellas?
What happened?
What's up?
No Ace again this week, although, as you guys have probably heard over the past couple of weeks, every time I say no Ace, he winds up joining and jumping in at some point in time and makes his point made. But he did give us his picks again, so we'll be going ahead and reading those picks off. But I'm going to go ahead and read off our results from week 9. I had a bad week. Ace and Levon had very good weeks. So I hope you guys listened to Ace and Levon last week. We picked a total of 14 games. Ace went 9-5. Levon went 9-5. Ant went 6-8. And I went 5-9.
No wonder you didn't mention me.
Huh?
I said, no wonder you didn't mention me as listening to Anthony. I was like, dang, I must have been bad.
No,
that was bad. Yeah,
they did really good. On the best bets, yeah, they really killed it. On the best bets, we did 6 best bets. Ace went 4-2. Ant went 2-4. I went 1-5, and Levon went 3-3. Perfect 50%. So I hope you guys listened and made some money on those. We didn't. I don't think I bet. I didn't bet last week. I wasn't able to get my bet in time, but I'm glad I didn't because I wouldn't have won anything. All right. So before we get into week 10, though, we obviously Tuesday was a big day for multiple reasons. One of which we won't get into because this is not a political show, but the other one being the NFL trade deadline came up.
That's the only thing I knew about that happened. I don't know about anything else.
So, it's interesting because, the trade deadline in years past, I mean, really for like most of our lives watching NFL football, like the NFL trade deadline would just come and go and, no big names would be moved. There was no real intrigue, no real, anything that was really going on that made you jump out of your seat or anything like that. But over the last few years, possibly because of franchising and salary cap stuff and free agency and just all of that, there's been a lot of movement, and this year was no different. A lot of deadline moves were made. Any ones that jumped out to you guys? Any ones that kind of made you kind of look up a little bit? And I'll start with you.
The only two things the only two what I actually remember was the one that the Lions made that actually stood up to me, and actually 3 of them, and the ones that of course the Jets made. Obviously, I had to look at that when I didn't really want that to actually happen. I wanted us to keep Mike Williams. Hopefully, he does good over there. But also the one that Dallas made, they made to me, it was not really of a big bold move. They should have made a bigger move, like go for that Mike Williams type of trade and try to make that push. It seems like they folded in little by little in my eyes. Look like they almost done, about to head into the weird place that I never seen Dallas been, which is the what's the name, top tier teams of being in the draft. Anyway, that's basically my point.
Yeah, Dallas. So I saw an interesting article on the Dallas trade. So the trade that Anthony's talking about is Dallas trading for wide receiver Jonathan Mingo from the Carolina Panthers. They got Jonathan Mingo in a 7th round pick, and they gave up a 4th round pick. And the interesting take on that was someone said Dallas paid more for Jonathan Mingo than they got back for Amari Cooper. So
it's horrible.
Like that's a ridiculous. If you think about that from the standpoint of how what kind of players that we're talking about in terms of Amari Cooper and Jonathan Mingo. That's not to say that Jonathan Mingo's a bum or anything like that. It's just to say Amari Cooper was a Pro Bowl receiver at the time, and they got, like a fifth for him. And they wound up having to give up a fourth to get a guy who still hasn't popped yet to that level. Vaughn, I know your team was involved in some conversations, but nothing wound up happening for the Giants. Um, what I heard for the most part was that the price point that Joe Shane was asking for was a little bit too rich for most teams. Did you hear anything about that?
Yeah. So the Giants that were on the said to be available. One was Aziz. Of all the pass rushers, he was probably the youngest. He's 24 years old. Um, can't think of the guy's name now.
Aziz Ojulari.
No, I know his name, but I'm trying to think the
Oh,
player who did get traded. Oh man, the Lions got. Who'd you guys get?
Zadarius Smith.
Yeah, there you go. So way younger than Darius Smith, and he has more sacks on the year. But his contract is up
Right.
in the year, and he has a little bit of injury history, and he's not very good against the run. In fact, he's not good against the run at all. But from what I heard, the only team that was really interested were the Falcons, who were pretty interested, and they had um, no fifth round picks to offer, but they had a fourth, but they weren't willing to give it up. And it was going to take at least a fourth or higher for Joe Shane to part with Aziz. And he wasn't willing to do it for a fifth and a sixth or a sixth, which I'm okay with because I'm like, a fifth and a sixth or a fifth or a sixth is a throwaway pick for a guy that we picked not too long ago with our, I think it was a second round pick that year. It was the year we took Tony and he was a second round pick. Yeah, a lot of people had a first round grade on him, but he had a little bit of an injury history. He's got 6 sacks and he knows how to get to the quarterback. He's 24. So I don't know if I'm glad we kept him. If we can't re-sign him, it is what it is. But I think the teams that did the best really quickly, I would say Pittsburgh by far. They got a pass rusher to go on the other side of TJ and Mike Williams, which gives Russ somebody else to throw to. Pittsburgh's got to go all in. The team is built to try to do something now. And even though I think they're on the long end of that because I think it's either Baltimore or KC. But I think that was pretty smart. I don't think Washington did themselves any favors. I think they're fooling themselves thinking that they have a real shot. Even though the NFC is kind of wide open, I just don't see a rookie quarterback going all the way to the Super Bowl. And that this, with that trade for Lattimore, they kind of, I mean, it looks like they're leaning towards they think that that's possible. I think that's a mistake. I think they should take this for what it is, which is a very good, unforeseen year and a building block, and don't try to put all their eggs in. Which I mean, they didn't give up much for the guy, but those are only 2 trades that I thought were of any substance. Three: Detroit getting who they got, Zadarius Smith, Pittsburgh with their 2 deals, and Washington.
Yeah, I think the Washington one is interesting because Lattimore, I believe he's a free agent going into next season. I don't believe he's under contract after this season. And so what they gave up for him, they gave up a third, a fourth, and a sixth, and they got Lattimore in a fifth.
Oof.
For me, that's a lot to give up for a guy who, could potentially leave at the end of the season.
Yeah.
And so like to your Levon, to your point, like it's one of those all-in moves, right? You give up all of that, you're expecting the addition of that one player to be the difference that that you need, the difference maker on your team to take you from where you are, which is at the top of the division, to potential top of the conference type of situation. So if it works out, great, but if it doesn't,
that's a
you
mistake.
lost out on some picks.
Yeah, I didn't know they gave up that much. A third, and oh my gosh, yeah, that's a mistake.
Third, fourth, and a sixth, yeah, and they got Lattimore in a fifth. So, yeah, for me, same deal. I think that the 3 moves that we saw like a few weeks before the trade deadline were obviously important. Talking about Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, and then DeAndre Hopkins going to the Chiefs. And we actually saw that pay dividends pretty heavily on Monday night right before the trade deadline when Hopkins had, I think, 2 touchdowns in that game against Tampa Bay, and basically he showed himself to be the best, at least be the best, have the best hands at the receiver position as anybody that Patrick Mahomes has ever played with, which is scary if he actually has any of the speed that he had before. This is Darius Smith one, Vaughn, you mentioned it, to the Lions. It was one that that had been talked about for some time. So, we had a pretty good idea, what everybody was talking about, Max Crosby and Myles Garrett and, putting those big names out there. All of the beat writers in Detroit and, folks that report on the team on a regular basis were putting his name out there. We're saying that he was the likely candidate to be acquired by the team. And then when it wound up happening, I wasn't surprised. We only gave up a fifth this year and a sixth in 2026. And, we got a guy who apparently has a chip on his shoulder because he is not a fan of either the Packers nor the Vikings, which he played for. And so he has made it very clear that he is itching to play those teams again. And we have a game against both of them at some point. So hopefully he's able to bring about some pressure along the defensive line for that team and make things a little bit easier for Aaron Glenn and the rest of the guys on that defense to, make some plays without having to bring a bunch of, blitzes and special packages and stuff like that. But we'll see.
Really quick.
Yeah.
Really quick. I think the team that should have went all in was Detroit. That Smith move was too quiet. I mean, if the possibility was there to get Garrett and they didn't pull the trigger.
It doesn't sound like it was. It doesn't sound like there was. It really doesn't sound like there was any traction or more. Like they definitely called on a lot of guys. There were calls made on Garrett. Obviously, they called about Crosby, and the Raiders made it clear that they were not moving off of him. I know they called about a couple of guys on Tennessee. Arden Key was one of them that they called about. I can't remember the other guy's name that they called about. But they always knew, and that was the thing. It was like Brad Holmes always knew that the Smith deal was there. It was there if they wanted it, right? And so, after they made all their calls and did all their due diligence, they came back to it and said, all right, let's make that deal, right? Because that was always going to be available for them. Smith wasn't looking like they paid him. Cleveland paid him last year. So he got his contract, and the Lions were and he got all his guaranteed money. So he was going to be a free agent, and the Lions weren't going to have to pay much of his salary. So it worked out, So yeah, is it all in? It's about as all in as they could possibly have gotten with regards to who was available on the market. So I am surprised though that because, to your point, because Smith, it was a little bit of a quiet one. I am surprised that they didn't go after and see if they could have gotten another guy, right? 2 guys would have been a really interesting get. Even if the second guy was like a, middle level type of guy, not a big name guy. But if you went and got 2 pass rushers, that's really telling me that you're like going all in on this and trying to shore up a weakness. But in any event, we'll see how it all plays out. Good trade season once again. We'll see what happens. All right, let's get into the games. We have the Germany game this year. Levon's Giants at the Carolina Panthers in Germany. The Giants are favored by 6.5 points. All of these spreads are coming from FanDuel Sportsbook. So again, check your own sportsbook to verify these numbers, but we're going to pick off the FanDuel lines. The Giants are 6.5 point favorites. Over under in this game is 40.5. The Giants are coming off of coming off of a loss last week. The Panthers are coming off of a surprising win last week against the New Orleans Saints. The Giants lost last week to who they lose to, Levon? Who did they play?
Redskins.
Washington, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
Jesus.
The Giants lost to Washington.
Commanders.
The Giants lost to Washington, which was their 4th consecutive loss. They haven't won a game since October 6th against Seattle. And they go on the road to play against Carolina. Go, on the road over the pond or wherever you want to say to play against the Carolina team that showing some signs of life. I don't know what it will mean for them this year, but you know, at least we'll see. Maybe they know a little bit more about that rookie quarterback or that second year quarterback Bryce Young that they invested so much in. Both these teams are 2-7. The Giants are 3-6 against the spread, and the Panthers are 2-7 against the spread here. Not much to say about the players, but Levon, let's start with you. What are you thinking on this game?
Two really bad teams with, I don't know, nothing to really, from a fan standpoint, nothing to play for. Playoffs out of the question. Both fan bases got to be looking towards 2025 at this point. But for the players, playing for pride, playing for contracts, playing for experience, reps, and for the coaches, except for the Panthers coach, I doubt he'll be one and done. This is his first year, right?
Yes. Yeah.
He won't be one and done. But Dable got a vote of confidence from ownership, but turn around and lose to Carolina badly, that could all go away. That vote of confidence could go up in smoke. The Giants have to win this game. Carolina doesn't have to win this game. They know they're bad. Everyone knows they're bad. Coach is safe. They got the young quarterback already that they invested in. But the Giants, who weren't supposed to be this bad, and a coach who, 3 years in, he can't just turn around and lose 11 games in a row. He's got to win some if he wants to be here next year and take a crack at it. So I think the Giants win this game. They are more talented, but that hasn't mattered all year. But I think they win this game in Germany, 9:30. And I'm going to put this in as one of my locks because I do believe that this is a certainty. The Giants are going to win this game. They are undefeated in the overseas games, 3-0, have not lost overseas.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah, haven't.
Okay. All right, Giants, and he's locking that in. And
Yep, I'm going for 3-1 for the Giants. I'm going to have I had the reverse over there. I got the Panthers and the under. I don't think the Giants is going to really win this game. I know they're supposed to be desperate to win this game. I know just because you're in New York, they make everything, they escalate everything. Even if you're a horrible team, they escalate things to be like quite still pushing towards something. But I really think the Panthers going to have for a win over here. I think the Giants is basically folded in the tent. And I think Dable's job is going to be on the line. This might be a repeat of what happened with the Jets when they went overseas, and you might see the coach get fired while in mid-flight back. So I'm going to go with the Panthers and the under.
Okay. I'm going to roll with Levon here. I like the Giants. One thing that I will say about the Giants, obviously, there's been major concerns about the Giants' offense and their inability to score, at a high clip. But the Panthers are statistically the worst defense in the NFL, and the Giants are not. The Giants, I actually said this during preseason when the Lions and Giants played week 1 of the preseason, and the Giants actually won that game. I think it was 14-3. You guys won that game. And I was talking to a Giants fan about the game, and he was like, what do you think, based off of what I was looking. And I said, I think you guys have a pretty good defense. I think the defense looks impressive. The names on there look impressive. The players look like they know what the hell they're doing. Williams up front and Lawrence up front. Obviously, you guys got Brian Burns in the offseason there. And I liked Deonte Banks when he was drafted, when he came out of Maryland. I thought he was a pretty good corner, and I wanted the Lions to get him in the middle to late first round of the draft in 2023. We didn't want to get him. You guys got him before us. So I do like this Giants defense. I think that's the unit. If I have to pick a unit out of the 6 units between these two teams, that's the unit that I'm going to roll with. So I like the Giants. I'm not going to lock it in because 6.5 points is a lot of points. But I do think the Giants should be able to get this victory and make things difficult for young Mr. Bryce Young. All right, Patriots at Bears. The Bears are 6.5. Oh, Ace has the Panthers as well. Sorry, he didn't lock that in, but he's picking the Panthers in this game. Patriots at Bears. Bears are the home favorite here, giving 6.5 points to the Patriots. Over under is 38.5. The Bears have lost. The Bears lost last week. They got pretty much boat raced, scraped, whatever you want to call it, by the Arizona Cardinals. Um, in a game in Arizona, they lost that game 29-9 and did not look good doing it. There's been questions and conversations about the job of head coach Matt Eberflus, which and I think you and I had talked about that early on, like during the preseason. We talked about the fact that, like, doesn't really, he was probably going to be on the hot seat even when we were watching Hard Knocks. I
Yep.
was saying, like, he just doesn't look like he fits. And you probably want to get, I think the Bears are waiting in the wings for the Detroit line for Ben Johnson to decide that he wants to be a head coach somewhere, and they're going to pay him a boatload of money to try to come over there and kind of rectify the offensive situation there. Meanwhile, the Patriots, they lost last week against Tennessee in a close battle. Drake May did come back, did play well. They lost that game in overtime to the Titans, and they look like the Patriots. They win game, they win and lose in the exact same fashion. So I think there's going to be a low scoring game. It just looks like it just trends that way because the Patriots defense doesn't give up many points. But Ant, I'm going to start with you here. Patriots at Bears. Patriots are 6.5 point underdogs. Who do you got?
Last week the Bears kind of disappointed me. I was on their side. I was quite cheerleading all the way. They wound up getting diddyfied. So I'm going to go against them this week. I'm going to pick the Pats, and I'm taking the under. I'm definitely going to go with that defense. I think they're going to make Eberflus look even worse than he was before. This is another doom and gloom game. So I'm just going to pick the Pats on this one. They're going to march into the Bears Stadium. I don't know what it's called now because I know it's not Soldier Field. I forgot the new stadium is
It's still
called.
Soldier Field.
Oh, it's still Soldier
It's still
Field?
Soldier Field. Yeah, they
Oh,
haven't
man.
moved yet.
So yeah, they're gonna get embarrassed at Soldier Field. I'm sorry to say, and I'm quite not gonna make this a lot, but this is gonna be a beatdown. Well, I'm not actually. You know what? I'm not even gonna mention the beatdown word because for some reason it goes reverse on me on that one. So I'm gonna pick the Patriots, and this is good. That's good, and I'm taking the under. I can't
So
believe the
wait,
Bears last
you
week.
think the Patriots are going to win outright? You don't think they're just
Mm-hmm.
going to cover the no? You think they're going to win this game outright? Okay, interesting. Okay, Levon, what about you?
2 weeks ago, the Bears were in this thing, and then a Hail Mary happened, and it knocked them off course. I don't know what's going on in Chicago, but the Bears are not that bad. That one of the worst teams in the NFL are going to go into Chicago and just beat them. Now, Arizona is better than everyone thought, and they're playing well, and good on them. And I don't know what happened to Chicago. Maybe they were still reeling from what happened in that game, but they are a more talented football team than the Patriots are. And they need to show that in this game. And I got the Bears winning this game. And yeah, the Patriots aren't very good. I watch their games. I watch how they play. They don't have much talent anywhere. Drake May steady running for his life, and that Bears defense is still pretty decent. So yeah, I like Chicago in this one. I do.
Yeah, I like the Bears here too. I think that they are again. I think you're right, Levon. I think that obviously beginning success raised the expectations of the team to the level that they probably shouldn't have had. They shouldn't have had it for that offense. They should have had it for the team in general. There was this like thought that they could be in the playoffs, they could win the division, and they're a 500 football club, and that's what you expect from a team that's led by a rookie quarterback and a young, inexperienced offense of guys that have not been together for a very long time. Like it's just likely to happen. The one thing I will say is like it does seem like Keenan Allen is pretty much done as a number one target receiver, and it doesn't look like Caleb Williams is one comfortable and two has any connection with DJ Moore aside from like 1 week so far this season when he when Moore had a pretty big week. They just don't seem to be clicking. And all of that could just be a function of the fact that of the offensive system that what's his name? Eberflus doesn't really tap into there. So there's not much to see. I think this is a low scoring game, but I think the Bears win this game because, to Levon's point, I think the defense is good. I think Drake May and the New England and the Patriots offense, they've shown that they can score, but they haven't shown that they can score, against a defense like this. So I'm going to take the Bears, not locking this in, but I like the under here as well. All right, Bills at Colts. The Bills are the road favorite here, giving 3.5 points. Over under is 47.5. So the Buffalo Bills, they won last week against Miami in a high scoring but much more interesting game than than any of us thought it was going to be. It had credit for. They won by 3 points, 30-27. And the Colts lost at Minnesota in Joe Flacco's first game as the no doubt starter, the Anthony Richardson bench game, first bench game of the season for him. The Minnesota game, that was on Sunday night, if I remember correctly. That was a primetime matchup. They didn't look good there. Offense didn't move the ball well. That could just be a function of Minnesota's defense really stepping it up from that perspective. They weren't able to run the ball. They weren't really able to pass the ball all that well. So I don't necessarily think that's a sign of things to come for this Colts offense, because we did see them be able to, run the offense pretty well and pretty effectively before then when Joe Flacco was in. That said, Bills are the Bills. They are one of the best teams in the AFC. They're one of the best teams in the NFL, and Josh Allen is playing like a Pro Bowl, playing like an MVP. So Bills, Colts, 3.5 points. And what say you?
I'm going to go with the Bills on this one. I mean, that's like a dumb move, and obviously, and I'm going to take the Bills over the Colts on this one. Colts, don't know how they. I can't really feel them actually winning this game, and I'm going definitely, just like you mentioned earlier, Josh Allen is basically playing at MVP level or close to it. So I'm going to take the Bills. I'm going to lock this in as my first lock of the week, and I'm taking it over.
All right. I'm taking the Bills as well. I think that just the closeness of that game that they played last week against the Dolphins, probably just a function of, division game, teams that know each other really well, AFC East matchup, it just happens. It's happening right now as we watch the Bengals and the Ravens, play. It's a one-score game, and everything just looks much more difficult when you're playing against a division rival. This is not that. The Bills are the better team. They're the better offense. They're the better defense. And Joe Flacco, for everything that he is, one thing that he isn't is mobile. He's a statue back there, and I feel like the Bills should be able to get after him with their defense that is young and that is not not explosive, but definitely learning to play and play with leads. They seem to be pretty good at doing that and pretty good at making turnovers. So I'll take the Bills, not locking this in, but I like them to cover this 3.5. Levon, what about you?
I say this every week. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. I say this every week, and it was evident last week with the Cardinals, Bears, especially with the Titans, more so with the Titans-Patriots game. And then obviously with the Saints, even though the Saints are actually pretty bad, but the Saints-Panthers, there's always a game that doesn't do what it's supposed to do. And Buffalo is that team, and Josh Allen is that quarterback, where he'll give a team a game that he shouldn't, because he'll start doing Josh Allen things and throwing the ball where he shouldn't throw it and running around all willy-nilly. And I just have a feeling that the Colts, who, I don't know, I just have a funny feeling about this game. It's Indianapolis. It's in Indianapolis. Buffalo had that game against Miami. It was a division game. It was a tough game. It was pretty close towards the end. This looks like it could be a letdown. Out of the division, they're on the road. No reason to get up for this one. Colts have all the reason to get up for this one. They're in the dogfight. I like the Colts to win this game. I like the Colts to win this game. I like this to be that upset, that one of the upsets of the week. So I'm gonna take the Colts in this for no other reason other than I just have a feeling about this and that the Bills are due for a letdown.
No pick from Ace on this one, so we'll just go ahead and move right ahead. This is the only game he didn't pick for some reason. Maybe he'll jump in and tell us his reasoning for that. All right, Vikings at Jaguars. Vikings are 7-point favorites. So this line actually moved pretty heavily over the last 24 hours. This line started out at 4.5 and has since moved up to 7, and that's due primarily to the status of Trevor Lawrence. Sounds like Trevor Lawrence may have come up a little bit gimpy and has not practiced this week, and could wind up missing the game. So if that's the case, then obviously things change considerably for the Jaguars. I'm not sure who the backup quarterback is for the Jaguars. I'll look that up as we're going through and see if I can find that for you guys. Or maybe you can find it. But the Jags are obviously 7-point favorites here. They are coming off of a loss last week to Philadelphia in a game that they really could have won. Philadelphia dominated the game. Everybody's been talking about the Saquon Barkley hurdle for the last 6 days. It's probably going to be it's almost going to be an SB winner already. Just we already pretty much know. But the tail of the tape with that game was that the Jaguars had a chance to win that. At the end of the game in the fourth quarter, they had a chance to score a touchdown and put themselves ahead and take that game away from the Eagles, which would have been really bad for Philly, but they didn't. Trevor Lawrence threw an interception, and it wound up just being another loss for the Jags. That said, the Minnesota Vikings have seemingly picked themselves up off the mat. I talked about them in the Colts game on the last rundown. They looked pretty good last week against the Colts, and especially on defense. And you got to imagine that if Trevor Lawrence isn't out there and it's a backup quarterback, they'll look even better. So Vikings, Jaguars, Levon, who you got?
Well, I'm trying really hard not to outsmart myself, but every week I pick the Jaguars because I just think this team is talented and they should win games, and they're just not doing it. And they come close and they just can't seem to do it. I'm not going to outsmart myself this week. I'm going to go with what I think is a sure thing. Minnesota is just a better team, better prepared. They've been good all year, and Jacksonville just can't get out of their own way. So I'm going to go with the Vikings in this game.
Yeah. What about you?
I saw an article earlier today. I forgot where I saw that, but the Jacksonville coach, I forgot his name. He basically says, "What's the difference between making Sam Darnold good right now?" And that he said the perfect answer. He said Justin Jefferson. There's only one Justin Jefferson in this game. He's the best player in this game. So I'm going to go to the team that Justin Jefferson plays with. I'm going to go with the Vikings. I'm taking it over. And just to answer your question, Malik, and so everybody out there can know, the backup for Trevor Lawrence is the former first round pick, Mac Jones, that used to be.
Yes,
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones, former Patriot. That's right. I remember that he did sign over there.
Actually, you know what? He was a first round pick, right?
Yeah.
He was a first round pick of the Patriots.
He came in the same draft as Trevor Lawrence.
2 or 3 years ago now. Yeah, it was like 3 years
Roll
ago.
Tide.
Same draft as Trevor Lawrence. Same draft as Zach Wilson. Same draft as what's his name in Dallas? Forgot the dude's name in Dallas too. That got drafted that year. The Mighty Four.
Well,
but anyway.
I think you made a good point because I'll get to my pick. I think you made a good point, Ed. Sam Darnold has Justin Jefferson, and not only does Mac Jones not have Justin Jefferson, he lost. He didn't have Christian Kirk either. Christian Kirk is now out for the season, so he's down a man. And Travis Etienne has been hurt as well, and not sure if he's going to be playing. So it's just going to be really, really interesting. If he has to roll out there. I like the trend for his defense, especially in my picks. I mentioned earlier on that the Carolina Panthers are ranked last in team defense in the NFL. Well, the Jackson Jaguars are ranked 31 out of 32. So this is a pretty bad defense going up against the Vikings offense that has shown its ability to be explosive at times and also shown the ability to be a top level defense at times. So this to me screams out, take nothing else, take the Vikings. lay the 7 points, and I'm going to lock this in as my first lock of the week. Ace is actually taking the Jaguars. He is not locking this in, so Ace is with the Jaguars. He's the lone one with the Jaguars on this out of our group. Broncos at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 7.5-point favorites on the road here. Division matchup, AFC West matchup. Not much to say about this game, honestly. The Chiefs are still the best team in the NFL, or the only undefeated team left in the NFL. They didn't look great, in my opinion, against Tampa Bay. They probably looked the best on offense that they've looked this year, but they didn't look like the best team in the world. They just are the best team because they haven't lost yet. Meanwhile, the Broncos are coming off of a bludgeoning. I picked them last week to cover the spread against the Ravens, and not only did they cover, they lost by 31 points. So not much to say about them either. But let's just get into this pick. And Chiefs at Broncos, 7.5 points. What do you think?
I'm going to go with the Kansas City 49ers. I mean, not 49ers, Kansas City Refs. And I'm taking the over in this one. I mean, they're just going to keep on rolling until they face a team that's just equal to them or know how to actually score the damn points in the fourth quarter, so they don't have to go into overtime. So I'm going to take the what's the name? The Chiefs. Might as well call them the Chiefs, and the refs, of course, with them. And I'm going to take the over. And this is going to be my second lock of the week.
All right, Levon, what are you thinking?
There's not much to say about this one. I like Bo Nix. As a quarterback, though. He's impressed me in his first season, but Denver's not going to Kansas City and handing them their first loss. That would be the upsetting.
This is in Denver. This is in Denver.
I just said it was in Kansas City.
Chiefs. I'm sorry, Broncos. I'm sorry, Broncos at the Chiefs. Yeah, I'm sorry. You're right. It's in KC.
Yeah, they're not going to KC and winning that game. So this is my second lock of the week too.
Yeah, it's a triple lock for us. I don't see the Chiefs doing any. I don't see the Chiefs losing this game either. This is definitely not the one that they're going to lose, and I think that the number 7.5 is pretty good. The Chiefs have won their last 2 games. Yeah, they beat Tampa Bay by 6. They beat Vegas by 7. They beat San Francisco by 10. So they've been somewhere in between there for a while. They're projected to win by 10 at this point. So no major injuries to speak of on that side of the ball. No major injuries to speak of on Denver either. So these are 2 relatively healthy teams going into this game. But the Chiefs are just a better team at this point. I do, want to see. I do believe that there is a better version of the Broncos defense that we did not see against Baltimore last week. And maybe they can show up and make some things happen. But I still think that offensively, they're probably not going to be able to move the ball against the Chiefs. They're not going to be able to run the ball against the Chiefs. Don't start Javonte Williams if you have him in fantasy football. And, the Chiefs should be able to come away with the victory here and, pretty easily. All right. Falcons at the Saints. The Falcons are the 3.5-point favorite on the road here. This is the second meeting of these 2 teams, which I'm not mistaken, I do believe was the last game was extremely close between these 2. The Falcons won that game 26-24. It was a really close game. And the Saints are coming off of a really bad victory. Bad loss against the Carolina Panthers last week. They lost that game 23-22 in Carolina. They looked a little bit better offensively. Derek Carr came back and made some decent plays, but everything was highlighted by the fact that he got his receiver knocked out of the game. Chris Olave came down with a concussion after a throw that Derek Carr airmailed, and Chris Olave got completely lit up by the defender. Went down with a concussion, did not come back to the game, obviously. And the entire week, there's been conversations about, not just about player safety, but about whether or not Derek Carr is really a good quarterback. I mean, plain and simple. Whether he's the quarterback, he's a quarterback that you can rely on, that you can trust. And if you ask Mr. What's the guy's name? Oh, Michael Thomas, the former Saints
Mhm.
receiver. He would tell you no. He would tell you absolutely not, because him and Derek Carr did not get along. But in any event, Atlanta's won two straight after their beating of the Dallas Cowboys last week, which they only won by 6. But if you watch that game, it was pretty much a beat down for the vast majority of the game, and Atlanta kind of took their feet off the gas. Offense is clicking, defense is actually playing a little bit better as well. This is a division game, division rivalry. These two teams don't like each other, so they tend to play the games relatively close. So that 3.5 number looks very interesting. I'll start off with this pick here. I'm going to take the Saints. I think the Saints cover the number. I don't know if they don't win the game, but I think they cover the number. The Falcons are just really, really, really unpredictable to me. Even though they are a very, very good team, they've been an unpredictable team, and I could see Kirk Cousins in the squad not laying an egg, not losing the game, but definitely making this much closer than it needs to be. So I like the hook on here. I like the Saints to cover the number. I think this game ends somewhere around like 27-24, and the Saints cover but lose. So I'll take the Saints and the over. Levon, Falcons and Saints. What are you thinking?
I've been on Atlanta's side for the most part this year, and I don't see a reason to change that now. It's a rivalry game. Those games are unpredictable, and this is down in the Big Easy. And if the Saints were even close to full strength, I might be tempted, but they're not. They've got a lot of injuries. They're a bad football team, and their coach just got fired. So I'm taking the Falcons to sweep the season series and win this game. And I don't even think it's close. I think Atlanta goes down there and lights them up pretty good and kicks them while they're down. Actually, make this my third lock of the week. I'm so sure of it.
Okay. Um, just a note, Levon was talking about how banged up they are. Obviously, I mentioned Olave. He's doubtful with his injury. We talked about the trade of Marshawn Lattimore, so he's not there anymore. Um, the Falcons lost Drake London last week to an injury in the first quarter. Doesn't He's questionable for the game to return to the game to play this week, so it doesn't necessarily mean he's out, but something to monitor there. Um, and Kyle Pitts is questionable as well with a hamstring injury, so just check out for that as we get towards closer to game time. And
I don't like picking any game that involves the Falcons or the Cowboys, especially with how they've been playing around this last week. I don't trust. You said earlier they're a back and forth type of team. They flip flop back and forth. In my opinion, they're a team that you don't even want to bet on. But since we have to pick something, I'm going to pick this. Just go the same way like you did. I'm going to pick the Saints. I'm picking the under in this one, maybe even more closer to the point, taking the 3.5 points. But I'm not going to make this a lock. I only want to. I want to stay far away from this game.
all right, Ace is taking the Saints as well. No lock. 49ers at Buccaneers. 49ers are giving 6.5 points to the Bucks. Bucks played valiantly last week against KC on Monday night, but they just weren't able to secure the win at the end there. Some questionable calls by Lovie Smith. Was it Lovie Smith? Not Lovie Smith. I gotta say Lovie Smith. What's the guy's name? And what's his name? What's the coach's name? Todd Bowles, right?
Bowles, yeah. Wow,
Todd Bowles. Yes, yes, yes.
you
I said
actually
Lovie Smith.
dare put Todd Bowles in the Lovie Smith category? Todd Bowles
I,
can't even tie his
I,
shoes.
you know what it is though? It's funny because like Todd Bowles never seems like he's interested in anything. Like he doesn't get high, he doesn't get low, he doesn't like you literally never see him react or respond. It's just like that man must have like the lowest blood pressure of any head coach in the NFL. Um, they lost the game. There were some questionable calls. People thinking that they should have went for two at the end of that game to give themselves a chance to win rather than giving Patrick Mahomes the ball back with was it 27 seconds and 3 timeouts. And then the coin flip happened, and Kansas City just went down the field, scored, and ended the game on them. So
You know, you know
Baker
what with
Mayfield
Todd Bowles?
never got a chance.
You know what Todd Bowles is?
What?
Todd Bowles do Todd Bowles things. Just like how they always say the Jets do Jets things, Todd Bowles do Todd Bowles things. That was a horrible thing. He could have won that game.
Yeah, no, that's what a lot of people said. I don't,
It,
obviously, nobody
man
for
has
us
no
to know
balls.
now. Hindsight is 2020. Um, but the 49ers, they didn't play last week. They're coming off of their bye, and looks like they're getting Christian McCaffrey back, which is
Yeah, it
huge for
sucks for
them,
me.
obviously. Yes, sucks for anybody playing against them in fantasy because I can imagine if he's
No,
completely
I had
healthy.
Mason. I had running back Mason. I was living it up
Oh,
with that dude on
he
both
got
and
hurt.
all. Yeah, he got hurt, but he came back. He's okay now. He would have been the starter
Uh,
if McCaffrey wasn't here.
okay.
McCaffrey's ruined my gravy train. Come back in the damn playoffs.
Well, look, you had your chance. You had your chance
I
to
have my
enjoy the Jordan Mason
yeah, I have my
trade.
Timu Mason. I have my Timu Caffey. I have my Timu McCaffrey going on here.
But everybody's first round pick is back, and I'm sure everybody's happy. Everybody that was able to draft him in their fantasy drafts is probably very very happy to see that. Buccaneers fans, not so much. 49ers at Buccaneers, 6.5 points to the 49ers. And you've been so passionate about your take there on the CMC return. So I'm gonna start with you on the pick.
Who else I was going to go for? It's definitely at the Buccaneers. I'm going to go with the 49ers. I'm taking it over. This is where I'm going to put the beat. This is where the beatdown starts. 49ers is actually going to start their trend of actually taking a chokehold of the NFC, and we're going to see it starting this game right here. This is going to be a beatdown. This is going to be an over. I know I said earlier I was not going to say that beatdown word, but yeah, I have to say it for this one. Give me the 49ers. Give me the over. Todd Bowles need to grow a pair.
Levon.
This is a
That's
this is a tough game to call. And Todd Bowles is taking too much. Analytics is a little overrated. The going for two
Forget
is
analytics. I had to deal with him when he was a Jets coach, so I know dang well he's fucking horrible.
I don't know what I would have done in that situation. I probably would have tried to win that game only because it's Kansas City and they're the champ. But anybody else, I probably would have been like, yeah, let's go to overtime and take our chances. But anyway, this is a tough game to call. The Niners have underachieved all year. It could be directly because they don't have CMC to utilize. Is he going to be what we all expected him to be at the beginning of the year, coming off this injury, very first game? I doubt it. And Tampa Bay has overachieved this year greatly. Baker Mayfield right at the center of that. And who would have thought that they would have given the Chiefs the game they gave them with no receivers? And they could have won that game at the very end. So, game in Tampa, CMC first game back, underachieving 49ers. I like the Bucks. I like the Bucks in this game. It's a home team. They're trying to stay in it. They're trying to stay relevant, and Baker's got that magic. He's got it working. So yeah, I'll take the Bucks in this one.
Yeah, Todd Bowles got that magic too, but we'll see.
No lock, no lock, right, Levon?
Oh no, no lock. I mean, nah, this is not
Okay,
an obvious game, so no lock. But I like
okay,
the Bucks at home.
Oh yeah, I'm having a lock on this. This is
okay.
my third lock.
Oh, you're locking in. Okay, all right. Um,
Got to put my money where my
yeah,
mouth is. Sorry.
I tend to agree with you, Levon. Like, I mean, I kind of want to see, Christian McCaffrey back and playing and see what he looks like before I say, hey, San Francisco is, ready to, climb themselves back into the race. I mean, the good thing is obviously nobody in the NFC West has really separated themselves yet from anything. So, like, even though the Cardinals, we talked about them a little bit earlier, they've been good and they lead the division, but they lead the division at 5-4. And the Niners are 4-4, right? So like they're only a half game back from them for first place in the division. So, all they really need to do is just kind of stabilize things a little bit, and they're right back into it. So on the other side, the Bucks have been surprisingly, I mean, when we saw them lose their two receivers last couple of weeks ago on Monday night, and they lost Godwin for the season, and then Mike Evans came up limp in the beginning of the game. Like everybody just kind of believed that they were just going to fall off a cliff, And they haven't won since then, but they have looked good in all of those games. 6.5 points is a lot of points to give away. And Tampa Bay's defense has been not, has not been great, but hasn't been horrible either. They played Baltimore, Atlanta, and KC in the last 3 games. I mean, couldn't get much harder than that. I mean, even if you think Atlanta's a middle of the pack team, they're still a division rival. And so those 3 losses coming in those 3 games, nobody's gonna fault you for losing to those 3 teams, especially the way that obviously Baltimore, Atlanta, and KC are playing. So I got to give it to the Bucks here as well. I think the Bucks can keep it relatively close. I think Ant is right. This could be the wheels could finally fall off of the wagon here, especially if they suffer any more injuries. So I'm not locking this in, but I think the Bucks at home playing against a 49ers team is still going to, in the midst of figuring themselves out. I think they just can cover the number. I won't say this is a lock. I won't say that I think they win straight out, but I think they can cover here. All right, Steelers at the Commanders. The Commanders are 2.5-point favorites. This is one of the better games of the week. 2 teams with winning records. Commanders are 7-2. Steelers coming off their bye at 6-2. So this is a really, really interesting game. These are 2 teams that obviously have a rich history in the NFL, and they haven't played each other very much over the course of that history. So it's an interesting one. The Steelers are clearly, one of the top defenses, getting healthier and coming off of their bye. Meanwhile, the Commanders won last week against the Giants in MetLife, and they're sitting atop the division, and things are looking pretty good for them, especially since Dallas has kind of fallen off to the wayside. We'll get to them later. Commanders are 2.5-point favorites against the Steelers. Over under here is 45.5. Ace has the Steelers. He's picking the Steelers for this game, and he's taking the over, and he's locking this in. So this is his second lock of the week. And we'll come over to you now. Steelers at Commanders. What are you thinking?
Well, I have my list of who I'm picking and stuff like that, and I also have my list of my locks. I'm actually changing things up here. Actually, originally before we started here earlier today, I put the Commanders here, but I'm starting to change up here because we got this nice guy that is on the Steelers side. His name is Tomlin, and he's going to be a future Hall of Famer coach. And I think he's actually going to come in here and show the young rookie quarterback some things here. He's still a defensive-minded coach, and I think he knows what he's doing. Kind of pray. He kind of knows what he's doing. Got a couple of rings on his fingers. But I want to pick the Steelers. I'm going to make this my 4th lock of the week, so I'm going to have to remove something else on the other side there. And definitely going to take the Steelers. They're going to make this a lock. They're going to get Mike Williams and see what happens with him. It might not be that much happening at first, but they Steelers know how to put things together and make things happen. But I'm taking the under in this one. I'm going to not taking the over.
All right, Levon, this is a team you're relatively familiar with in the Commanders. You just saw them last week play against your Giants. What are you thinking on this one?
I need to call you out on that. Both teams have a rich history. The Commanders.
Don't have no history.
I mean in terms of winning. I don't mean in terms of winning. I mean in terms of history in the NFL.
You just said it. Let me said it. Let me just point out. The Commanders don't have a rich anything. A team doesn't have to change its name, and you have a rich history. Okay, we still call this team the aforementioned Washington football team or the freaking Redskins. So it's not
the Redskins too.
If anything, it's checkered. It's checkered at best. So I'm gonna try to put my disdain for this team to the side. I just wanted to point that out because I would hold on to that while Anthony was going on. All right, that's out of the way. Rich history. The Steelers have a rich history. Mike Tomlin, as to Ant's point, is an excellent coach. And the one thing that he has in common with another excellent coach who's no longer coaching at the moment is that he doesn't take it easy on rookie quarterbacks. Rookie quarterbacks very rarely do well against Mike Tomlin teams, Mike Tomlin defenses. I think Washington has been very lucky this entire year. Not to take anything away from what they've been doing and the job Dan Quinn has done, but a lot of their victories have been unorthodox and serendipitous. And I think this is the week where that kind of, doesn't work for them. I think Tomlin's going to have that defense ready, 2 weeks to prepare. I think Watt will give Daniel something to think about. He'll have to get rid of that ball a lot quicker. I think they'll go back to what they did early in the season, which is a lot of quick game, a lot of screens, wide receiver screens, running back screens, try to slow down that pass rush. And if I'm thinking they're going to do that, I'm pretty sure Mike T is thinking they're going to do that. I doubt very much that Washington offensive line is going to allow Jaden to do a lot of 7-step drops or catch it in shotgun and do a lot of 4-step drops and fire it down the field. So my daughter just came in here. I'm about to go kick her in the neck in a second. But but yeah, I think the Steelers are going to take this game. I think they would have took it before the trades were being made. I just think, like I said, Tomlin is a well-prepared coach, still a rookie quarterback. But yeah, give me the Steelers and give me a lock on that. That'll be my fourth lock as well.
All right. I'm going to correct your correction, and I'm going to say, when I say they have a rich history, the Washington Football Club, if you want to call them the Redskins, the Commanders, the football team, whatever you want to call them, I could care less. They have been in the NFL since 1932. The Steelers have been in the NFL since 1933. So both of these teams do have a rich history in the NFL lore. That's what I meant by that. I didn't mean that they've been great. We obviously know the naming situation that went on with this team in the last few years, which led them to having to rename the team to the Commanders. But this is one of, if I'm not mistaken, this is one of the, not original teams, but this is one of the teams that started things off. They started out as the Boston Braves, then they became the Redskins, and then they moved from Boston to Washington and have been in Washington ever since 1937. So, this is a team that's pretty historic squad, pretty historic teams, two pretty historic franchises going against each other. Now, obviously, championships and all that stuff, you have to look past that because, I don't know how many Super Bowls does the Steelers have in their history. Washington has 3.
Pittsburgh.
I don't know how many Super Bowl championships the Steelers have, 5.
Pittsburgh is 6. Right behind. You talking about Super Bowls or overall championships?
Yes. I think overall championships,
that I can't tell you. I know who's first. Dallas? Is Dallas first? No, Pittsburgh is first. Pittsburgh has 6. Dallas has
Patriots
4.
Are first. The Patriots have 7, right?
No, the Patriots aren't first. No, the Patriots don't have 7. Brady has 7.
Oh, Patriots have 6. Yes.
Brady has 7.
Right.
Patriots have 6, and I think they're tied with Pittsburgh for the most, unless Pittsburgh has 7. But I think it's Pittsburgh right at the top with New England, followed by Dallas, Niners, Giants. I could be getting that wrong, but it's easy to check. But Pittsburgh and New England are 1-2. The Super Bowl.
Got it. Okay. All right. So, yeah, and Washington has 3 championships in their history. I don't know.
It goes like this,
Super Bowls or not.
Patriots has 6, Pittsburgh has 6, San Francisco has 5, Dallas has 5, Green Bay has 4, Giants has 4, Kansas City has 4. Blah 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 blah.
How many does Washington actually have? 1 or 2 or 3?
1 Super Bowl, I think. They just got the one Super Bowl. Yeah,
and then 2 championships.
If you want to add championships, then the Giants are probably ahead of everybody because I know
right before the Super Bowl starts being played. Yeah,
but Super Bowl is New England, Pittsburgh. Yeah, Frisco's got the 5. Dallas.
Okay.
3. Well, you're right. 3.
Washington's got
Super Bowls.
3.
Okay. All right.
Wow.
The Doug Williams one is the only one that I know.
That's the only one I can think of too. The Doug Williams one.
So I imagine they must have won some.
Okay. When I googled it, they actually added the World Championship, so that doesn't count. So
they won with Mark Rippon too. So that's at least 2.
Yes.
So I remember Rippon, and I think that was 92 when they won and they beat Buffalo. They were the 90 first Buffalo in Buffalo's 4-year run.
Those 2, and then there's the World Championship they won back in the 37.
Yeah.
Well, no, they have three. I'm looking at it now on Wikipedia. They have three Super Bowl championships. They won in 1982, then they won in 1987. That was Doug Williams, and they won in 1991.
91. That was Rippin.
So
Okay.
they do have three.
Yeah, that was the Rippin
Yeah.
Art Monk team.
Okay, yeah, we're
Yeah.
not counting we're not counting championships.
But no, they have three Super Bowls.
Three
That's
Super-
probably, as a matter of fact, 82 and 87. That's Joe Gibbs, right? That's the Joe Gibbs era, right? So
Yeah.
I think Gibbs
so
was
the fact that they had
91
two then.
too, right? Gibbs was
Might have
91.
been
Who was
91 as
91?
well. Yeah, it might have been 91 as well.
Actually, if you want to go
Um,
technically, the Washington Commanders don't have nothing.
Oh boy. I mean, you
Oh,
got a good
gosh.
point.
Let's not. We've already spent too much time, and
No
you're
respect.
giving LeVon the opportunity to bash this Washington franchise as much as you can, despite the fact that they're 7-2. They're actually pretty good. But I will take the Commanders in this game. I won't spend any time actually, breaking this down. I like Jaden Daniels. I like the squad, and I just feel like at some point in time, Russell Wilson, this Russell Wilson experiment, we're going to see bad Russ, or we're going to see some bad from Russ at some point in time, and maybe it happens here. We know that Washington can score points, and this is like a battle of good versus good. Washington's offense versus Pittsburgh's defense. I just think the Commanders can win this game and cover that 2.5. All right. I'm not locking that in, though. Titans at Chargers. Chargers are 7.5-point favorites hosting the Titans. The Chargers are another one of those teams that, they won last week. I did pick them to win last week against Cleveland. They've won 2 in a row. They look good, but then they're kind of boring. But this is the team that they should be able to handle pretty well in the Tennessee Titans. Not sure if Will Levis is coming back. They did win their game last week against New England in overtime, as I mentioned before. They did not cover the number. They are currently 1-7 against the spread on the season. They're 2-6 as a team, but they're 1-7 against the spread on the year. So just not a good team so far. And the Chargers are a good team. They're a middle of the road team. They're 5-3. They're in the playoff hunt. They're in the playoff picture. They run the ball well. They defend the run. They do pretty much everything solidly. Nothing spectacular, and that's probably why I said they're a little boring. But needless to say, 7.5-point favorites means that Vegas and everybody believe that they're a pretty good bet on this game. So Ant, we're going to start with you. Titans at Chargers. What are you thinking?
Well, it's kind of weird to me. I don't know why I had this in my head, but for some reason I think the Titans are like a Temu version of the Chargers. But I'm going to go with the Chargers in this one. I'm going to just take the under in this one. I'm not going to make this a lock. I'm just going to just go with the flow in this one. I don't trust the Titans, and I think the Chargers can actually definitely pull out this type of game. But yeah, like I said, there's not going to be no lock or anything like that.
All right. Just to recap for the Steelers Commanders, Aaron Ace is taking the Steelers, and he is locking that in. Okay. Okay. I am taking the Chargers, and I am locking this game in. We still don't know who's going to be playing the quarterback for the Titans this weekend.
Yeah, that's the reason why I'm not locking it in.
Regardless of who plays, I don't think it matters. I just don't think it matters all that much. We've seen what Mason Rudolph can do, and that ain't much. And we've seen what Will Levis can do, which is a little bit more than what Mason Rudolph can do. But Will Levis can also turn the ball over pretty regularly as well. So I think that there's pretty good evidence that the Chargers will win this game. These are the types of games that Jim Harbaugh was brought in for, not because it's playing against the Titans, but because the last coach here, Brendan Staley, had a penchant for losing games that the Chargers should be winning, and just finding creative ways to lose games that his team was much better than when his team came in as just the more talented roster. So I'll take the Chargers. I think they handle business here and get themselves a 6-3 and remain in that playoff hunt. Not going to be able to catch the Chiefs most likely, but can get themselves a wild card spot. So I'll take the Chargers, and I'm locking this in. LeVon.
Yeah, I got the Chargers too. Not much to say. You guys both covered it very well.
Why are you saying that?
Yeah, I mean, Not saying nothing. It's covering it very well. It's not much to say. Tennessee's bad. It's one of the worst teams. And, they got their win last week because somebody had to out of those two terrible teams. But this week, not so much. Chargers are in this thing, and they're not going to stumble over Tennessee, not at home. So, yeah, I would lock this in, but I don't want to waste a lock on such an obvious game. So, yeah, the Chargers.
Locks are locks because they are supposed to be obvious. They're supposed to be the ones that you put your money on and you don't even think about them because they are locks. That's why you put them on.
I like my locks to be obvious to me, not so obvious to anyone else. That way, they matter.
Controversial.
I kind of like
lock.
I kind of like a challenge. I like a challenge.
Controversial lock.
A hidden lock.
This is the hidden lock you wish you knew about, but I know. Lock it in.
I kind of like challenges on some of these things.
We're all sweeping. Ace is taking the Chargers as well, but he is not locking this in. All right, Ant, you're up. Jets at the Cardinals. I would like for you to preview this game, Ant. This is your team. This is your game. I think you should preview this game. I was going to ask Levon to preview Giants Panthers, but I could tell in his voice that he had no interest in previewing that game, so I'm not going to do that. But Ant, I want you to preview Jets Arizona for me.
You actually think I actually want to preview this? No, I have no interest in it.
Ant.
You might have won last week, but that fun is about to be gone on Sunday.
Everyone that listened to the show last week, you guys listened to the show last week, you listened to the ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, everything that comes with being a Jet fan. Anthony went through it all in one show, in 1 hour and a half on that show. It was incredible. It was fantastic. And Ant, I know that you've done your research on this game. I know that you know some things about this game that you want to talk about. So you're not going to back away from it that well. I know that you did a good amount of research on what this game is and what this game could be for your New York Football Jets. I will only say the Cardinals are 1.5-point favorites at home, hosting the Jets. The over-under on this game is 46.5. And yeah, I'm going to leave it to you to just wax poetic about what your team is and what you think they can be on Sunday. So go ahead, take it away.
I don't feel like doing this, but anyway, I will just put my pick in right now. I'm actually going to pull a stunner like I did last week. I'm taking the Cardinals and I'm taking the under this one. The Bears didn't do their job. And the thing is that one thing the Jets didn't do this week during the trade deadline is actually trade for an actual run stopper. That's one thing they kind of messed up in the offseason when they traded for Hassan Reddick. They got rid of their run stoppers and traded them for a bag of peanuts. So I'm going to take the Cardinals and I'm going to take the under this one. And that's the main reason why the Jets is quite horrible against running quarterbacks and they're horrible against the run itself. Hopefully they can disguise that maybe. And we might actually see something with both Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed on the outside. As far as for concern of the Cardinals on their side, I saw them last week. They was mostly feeding in on their rookie and see if they can keep that up and quite see what happens over here. Like I said, I'm horrible at this. So Malik, you should have kept on going as far as, bringing them in. Because I obviously am not prepared for this type of stuff. I'm just the guy who sits on the side, drink my wine off camera and call things. I drink it, I know things.
Man, now
I drink it, I know things.
See, now that I know that you drink wine, we have to put this on camera so that people can see the wine drinking Anthony, the wine drinking wino Anthony makes his calls. Like I think you'll become a YouTube sensation, my brother.
That's awesome. I like that. I like that line.
Levon, Jets and Cardinals. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking. Did you? Is that yours, or did you take that from someone? I drink and I know things.
No,
is that yours?
I took that from Tyrion.
No, that's from Game of Thrones.
From Game of Thrones.
Oh,
that's from Game of Thrones.
That is a great line.
Yeah, I know. That's why I took it. That's an awesome line.
That was the imp, Tyrion Lannister.
It's registered now.
Season 1, I think it was.
Before you go, Levon, I just want to say I'm taking the Cardinals on the under, and that's my lock.
Got you.
Oh, you're locking this in. Okay, I didn't even know that. I know that was a lock. Okay, go ahead.
Got you. I don't believe in the Cardinals. I don't believe in that team. They took advantage of the Bears last week. I think the Jets are talented. I think the Jets are a talented team that just can't put it together, can't play complementary football at the right time. But I think that they're going to do it this Sunday. I think they are. I think they're going to put it together. That defense is way better than what they've been putting out. And Aaron Rodgers might be cooked, but I think he's got a little something left. And I think they might be thinking that that win that they had last week that we didn't expect gave them some life. And like I said, I don't think the Cardinals are some juggernaut. I think they're in a bad division. They're a 500 football team, and I think the Jets can go into the desert and take care of business. Not super sure about it, but this is one of those, seesaw either way type games that only someone sitting somewhere with the doors closed and all the analytics and all of the weather and all of that stuff would know how it's going to go. Somebody in Vegas. But me, I'm just taking the Jets on feel that I think they get this. And I know Ant thinks so too. He's just playing coy. So give me the Jets in this one.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, you don't trust them. You don't trust the Cardinals. I don't trust the Cardinals, and it doesn't feel like Vegas trusts the Cardinals here in this either. Because, when you're at home and you're hosting a game, the standard is 3 points. Like, the standard is you spot the home team 3 points. The home so the home field advantage. And this game is only 1.5, which means on a neutral field, this is a 2.5 point Jet spread. If the Jets were at home, this would probably be looking like something like Jets -4. And that's pretty telling on the Jet side of things. I don't think that this line has moved much, so the money's probably coming in pretty even here. But yeah, to your point, Levon, like the Jets are obviously a talented football team. They're obviously a team that everyone expected to be in the mix, if not like leading the pack, as it pertained to the division and playoff seeding and all those things in the AFC. They've obviously started off slow, and the hopes are that they can work their way out of it and even potentially get themselves a wild card spot, get themselves back into the playoffs. But you can't get into the playoffs if you don't win games like this. Especially games like this, because you don't have any wiggle room here. No, there's no room to like drop a game. If Aaron Rodgers is that guy, if Devontae Adams is that guy, if Breece Hall is that guy, then they have to be those guys against a team that's played better than most people expected, but it's still not the juggernaut that they appear to look like in the game against Chicago last week. So I'm going to roll with the Jets here as well. And it's funny because Ant's the Jet fan in this group, and you, Levon, me, and Ace are all picking the Jets, and Ace is actually locking in the Jets, and Anthony's the only one that's picking the Cardinals. So that's just an interesting take on this game. But I think that Anthony, at the very least, he hopes that we're all right and he's wrong in this pick.
Absolutely.
Before I forget, I'm going, since Malik threw me on the spot earlier on that thing, I almost forgot about this other point I wanted to make. The Jets are historically horrible coming off of mini buys and bye weeks, just to let you know, historically, and this goes back all the way to Herman Edwards.
Okay.
That's a good stat.
That's a great stat. It doesn't mean something's got to change. So we'll
hopefully it does change under what's the name coach? Under what's the name? What do they call that coach? Interim coach. Interim coach. Interim coach. Yeah, hopefully that changes under interim coach.
And I do have a question for you before we move on to the next game, because this was interesting. This was an interesting take. So there was some limited conversation, however limited, about the fact that Aaron Rodgers was seen celebrating with, Coach Brick on the sideline. And obviously they were juxtaposing that with the very tepid, very, ornery exchange between Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh a few weeks prior when Saleh tried to give Aaron Rodgers a hug, and Aaron Rodgers pushed him and mouthed something like, we got to get up 2 scores. And when the hug happened between Rodgers and Brick, I don't think the Jets were up 2 scores at that time, right? So I think they weren't. So what did you make as a Jet fan? Did you make anything of it, or did you think it was just much ado about nothing?
I kind of made a little bit on it because I actually do believe the media tinfoil hats when they start trying to say that Aaron Rodgers got solid fired. I believe that thing is actually true. I don't think that he actually was meshing well with
That's
them,
definitely true.
especially after the Egypt situation when basically Aaron Rodgers got thrown under the bus on that one because Salah didn't have to really bring that part up.
Yeah,
So
it
I
definitely
really
seemed
believe
like it seemed like I mean there was all these comments over the last couple of weeks that like the Jets defense was still in on the board with Salah and like they were trying to win for Salah and they were losing. Um and but Aaron Rodgers is winning for Brick. Like clearly he was not winning for Salah, he was winning for Brick. He was happy to, be with the new head coach. So
if you compare
yeah.
Aaron to me, I started thinking about this last week. Aaron Rodgers is basically the football version of LeBron James. If you look at LeBron James in his career, he been always have his boys more than as a coach than an actual real coach.
You know what I mean, especially with the way that he orchestrated these former Jets here. I'm sorry,
Right.
former Packers and onto the Jets. You could definitely say that that's a very LeBron-esque thing to do.
But you also notice
Um,
that soon as that Clay Salah was gone, all of a sudden everything got fixed. We got what's the name, Hassan Reddick in the house. All of a sudden, Devontae Adams magically got traded. Everything just
yeah,
happened. Like I said, it feels
that's
more
true.
like it feels like a LeBron James type of thing,
That's
football
true.
version.
That's true. All right. So Ant now has his wine glass and his tinfoil hat. Just telling you guys, like conspiracy theory Ant is in full effect here. All right, 3 games left. I still have 3 locks to go, and so these will all be. I'll be locking in all 3 of these games on one side or the other. First up, Eagles at Cowboys. The Eagles are 7-point favorites on the road in Dallas. This is Dallas's first game since losing quarterback Dak Prescott to a sounds like it's now a slightly torn hamstring, so he's going to be out for at least 4 weeks. Initially, people thought it was just like a pulled one, and people were questioning whether or not he was kind of dogging it to just kind of avoid getting hurt. But yeah, it sounds like it's actually torn to some degree, and he's going to be out. The Eagles, on the other side, have looked really good these past few weeks, at least on offense. Looks like that offense is clicking. Barkley's playing great. People are calling him MVP level Barkley right now. Could very well win that award if things continue to trend this way.
I hate to bring
Jalen
it up, but
Hurts
did
is
you saw the
passing the
move?
ball well. Yes, we saw the move. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. Jalen Hurts is passing the ball well. AJ Brown did get hurt in the game last week in the victory that they had in that game against Jacksonville. I don't know if it means he's going to be out at all, but regardless of whether his status, he won't be 100% clearly. But regardless of that, this game is about what is left of the Dallas Cowboys and whether or not they can muster up some level of competition. So I'm going to start with Levon here because he's the NFC East. He's the fan of the Giants and he knows a lot about the NFC East in this division. So I'm going to
NFC
start with
East
you here.
Fascinado.
I'm going to start with you here. Eagles 7-point favorites going to Dallas to play against the Cowboys. What are you thinking?
This isn't a hard game to predict. Dallas is reeling. Their quarterback is out. Even though Cooper Rush is a very capable backup, I think wasn't too long ago he came in when Dak was hurt. He won like 4 games straight for them. My Giants were one of the teams he beat in that stretch. He's capable, but the Cowboys, for the first time in a long time, have issues on the offensive line. And they're not blocking things up very well. The run game is not as good as it used to be. I think they're getting Parsons back this week, though. I think they're getting Micah back, which should help the defense. But offensively, they're struggling. I don't know if CeeDee Lamb's arm, shoulder is going to hinder him much or not. I haven't checked the injury report. But regardless, the Cowboys at full strength weren't playing very good football. And now quarterback down, CD's not doing well, offense not existent. Defense could be better if Micah comes back and is his old self. And on the flip side, this is weird to say, but the team I hated most in the entire National Football League, the Philadelphia Eagles, I don't hate them as much as I used to, and that is because of Saquon Barkley, who one of my favorite football players, I guess, in this era, and I can't be mad at him watching him all those years struggle with us and never say a bad word about this team when he had opportunity to. Model citizen, and he's finally getting a chance for some success, and I'm happy for him. And that was a hell of a play. And no, not many running backs can make that play. And I think Ace said the best running back in football. He said something last week. Yeah, he said Taylor. I think he said Taylor was the best running back in football. We know Aaron with his hot takes. He has a million of them. But the best running back in football, with respect to King Henry, is Saquon Barkley. Is 26, fully healthy, all things even. I'm taking 26 over everybody else, and that's how I've always felt. And I'm happy for him. And I said all that to just say, yeah, the Eagles are gonna steamroll the Cowboys. If they don't steamroll them, they'll win the game outright. I got Philly.
Okay.
I'll go next. I'm locking Philly in here. I think this number is actually lower than I thought it would be. I figured this would be easily Eagles by 8, 9 points because of the quarterback situation and because of what we've seen from Dallas over the course of the last couple of weeks. Granted, the Eagles did not, like I said mentioned earlier, they could have lost that game against Jacksonville. And surprisingly, Ant's favorite play got stopped twice in that game, and the Eagles wound up not going for the tush push or the brotherly shove or whatever the hell you want to call it during a 4th and 1 later in the game because it had gotten stopped twice by the Jaguars. So maybe that play is no longer the sure thing that it was years past with Jason Kelsey leading the charge there. But that said, Vaughn, you're right about everything that you said. Saquon is a beast, has always been a beast, and his biggest issues over the course of the early parts of his career were offensive line and injuries. Like that's pretty much what it was. But when he was healthy and when he was able to play, and he had his fair share, his fair complement of targets and rushes, we saw what he was capable of doing. Obviously, not that hurdle, right? We didn't see that. Nobody's ever done that in the history of the game, and I don't expect anybody else to ever do that again. But we know what this guy's capable of when he's on, and he's been on all season. And I'm hoping, kind of similar to you, my favorite position in the NFL, my favorite position to watch, to play in the NFL, to play in football was always a running back. I love watching running backs. I love watching running backs when they're good, and this is one of the best and has been one of the best running backs I've seen both in college and in the pros, in terms of his just dual threat ability and everything that he does and brings. And he's just a pro. He's just a professional. He doesn't shit on his team. He doesn't, he just says all the right things. He just does it all, with style and with grace and with strength and with his ability. So big shout outs to him. He was going to be one of my shout outs at the end of the show, but I'll go ahead and preempt the shout out there. And so that said, despite the fact that I don't like anything else about the Eagles, anybody else on the Eagles, especially I've been critical of Jalen Hurts on this show in the past, I do think they're able to handle business against the Cowboys. So I'm taking the Eagles and I'm locking this in. I'll give the 7 points. And you're up.
Before I say my lock, I just want to put in this one thing here. Last week was the last time we will ever see Dak in a Cowboys uniform ever again. I'm blocking that part.
What?
That's in my opinion. I think that's what's going to happen.
That contract alone tells me that's not going to happen just because of the contract that he signed with the Cowboys. But that's a huge. I don't know how they get off of that even if they wanted to. But go ahead.
We'll see. I'm just throwing that out there and see if I can be like the Simpsons and predict stuff. But anyway, I'm gonna quite lock. I'm not gonna lock this in. This was originally gonna be my lock, but I'm definitely taking the Eagles and I'm taking the under in this one. They don't have the magical shove the man in the behind, no play anymore. But still, balls. Oh man, that sounds wrong. But anyway,
We're not editing that out, Ed. We're not
wow,
editing that out at all.
that was so horrible. Sorry, folks out there, for a bad imagination, bad image there. But anyway, to wrap this up real fast, I'm taking the Eagles. I'm taking the under. There's no way the Cowboys is going to win this. I'm sorry. I don't see it. Maybe they might turn things around because the number one person on the hot seat is Mike McCarthy, but see how things go. But I'm going to, once again, I'm taking the Eagles. I'm taking the under. Let's move it on.
Question for both of you, just a yes or no would be sufficient. Would you start, if you're the Cowboys, would you be starting Cooper Rush or Trey Lance just to see what he's got?
And you go
Would
first.
you? Oh, go ahead.
I'm going to go with Trey Lance just to throw that out there.
Well, if your opinion on Dak Prescott is right, they better damn well see what they got with Trey Lance. Levon, what about you?
The season's not over for Dallas, and you start Trey Lance, and you're saying that it is. So they gotta start Cooper, and I start Cooper because if you start Trey Lance, it's like you're saying, yeah, we don't think we can do anything this year.
I see that. You're just backing in. If you're starting Trey Lance, you're like, let's gonna see what the kid has before we gotta make a move. The only reason I say start Trey Lance is because you might need him to be able to be a trade target for you in April of next year. And if nobody sees him, nobody's going to want to trade for him. So maybe if he has a game or two, does some good things, is able to score some points for you, maybe you go with that. But yeah,
you might find your franchise, and you traded for him for a reason. You might find your franchise. You'll never know.
Hey, I'm sure that Jerry was making himself seem like a very, very smart person for making that trade for Trey Lance a couple of years back, and he hasn't done anything since then. I think he threw 3 picks in a preseason game. I think that's the only thing he's done of any merit. All right, Sunday Night Football. My Detroit Lions at the Houston Texans. This is a pretty interesting game. The Texans lost last week against the Jets, against Anthony's mighty Jets. They're coming off of the mini bye because that game was on a Thursday night. And now they have a game on a Sunday night. So they've got plenty of time to rest up and get ready for this game. Coming off of that loss, there's still questions about the health of many of the players on that side of the ball for the Houston Texans, although it sounds like Nico Collins is trending to a return here. He's missed 4 games. He was expected to come back for this game, and he hasn't had any setbacks to date. So he could be returning to the team. I don't see him on the injury report right now. So it looks like he's going to be there. And that's pretty good because obviously Stephon Diggs is out for the season. So they, getting for CJ Stroud, getting back a receiver like that, who's his favorite target, it's been his number one target since he entered the league, is huge. Meanwhile, on the other side, Detroit handled business in Green Bay against a Green Bay Packers team that was expected to really challenge them for the division crown there. They won that game in the rain, in the wind, and didn't look like they were worse for wear in doing it. So the Lions are who they are. We know who they are. We know what they're all about. And they go into your stadium, and if you're not ready for 60 minutes of hard-nosed, run it down the middle of the line type of football with David Montgomery, and then they switch it up and throw Jahmyr Gibbs at you, and he's fast and he's lightning quick. I absolutely love, Levon, you remember this?
I knew he was going to do that.
Back when it was Tiki Barber and it was Brandon Jacobs.
That's right.
And it was Thunder and Lightning back there. Well, they don't call these guys Thunder and Lightning. They call them they call this is Sonic and Knuckles. David Montgomery is clearly Knuckles and Jahmyr Gibbs is Sonic. So I love that because I'm a huge Sonic fan. I love the reference there. This is just a great time to be a Lions fan. And this team is playing on all cylinders. So I have to pick the Lions. I picked against them last week, and I'm happy that I was wrong. I thought the Packers would keep that game close, and they did not. I'm happy that I was wrong. So I am now 7-1 picking Lions games, and I'm picking the Lions this week. Primetime matchup, primetime game. I don't think the Texans are a bad team. I do think the Texans will come out of this division and be able to represent this division in the playoffs. But there's a little bit of the sophomore slump showing with respect to CJ Stroud in this squad. And I think the Lions keep on rolling. So I'm going to take the Lions, and I'm locking this in. Lions -3.5. Levon, over to you.
Fun game. I mean, you pretty much covered it all there as well. I think Houston looks at Detroit and says that's where we want to be at some point in the near future. They've got some holes, and it's due to the fact that their quarterback is still young. Like I said, sophomore slump, very, very probable. But I think Nico coming back is going to help him a great deal. I have a hard time picking against Detroit. Much like Kansas City, you see a team that's rolling, everything going in their favor. Eventually, it stops at some point.
Yeah.
Things kind of even out. But how do you can't predict it. It just, something happens to stop it. And is this the week on the road against a Houston team, huge letdown, that has the ability on both sides of the ball to do damage to Detroit? And one thing that Detroit can't really do that might work against them and work for Houston is they have no pass rush. And if CJ can sit back there and make a sandwich and pick them apart, it could get interesting. So I'm going to pick Houston. I'm going to pick the Texans in this game. I think coming off a loss, I think that team's going to be hungry to win. They're going to see an opportunity to make a statement in primetime after having a statement made on them in primetime. They're going to seize that opportunity. That team's got a lot of swag, much like Detroit. The team's got a lot of swag, a lot of juice, as the young people like to say nowadays. And I think that's going to be a fun one to watch Sunday night. But I like the Texans to win that game.
Okay. Ant.
Yeah, they can have all the juice they want. I don't think they're going to win this. I'm going to go with the Stephen A. meme that I usually post in our chat sometimes with the Detroit hat. But I'm just going to go with that. If you ever not seen it, I'm going to just look for it everywhere. Anybody who's actually listening to this, try to look for that. But anyway, I'm going to take the Lions. I'm going to take the over this one. Right now, the Texans is basically having that slump ever since CJ Stroud decided to be a veteran and tell a young rookie from Washington, things will be better and stuff like that. Ever since that game, he's been going on a little downward slope on this one. I think this is going to continue against this team. This team is definitely, people already having this team, the Lions, in the Super Bowl type of matchup type of thing. And I don't see the Texans even near that stratosphere is right now. So give me the Lions, give me the over. This is actually going to be my final lock of the week. If you want to, since we're still doing 6 locks, I believe.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Ace has the Texans here. He is not locking this in, but he is picking the Texans. He's picking the Texans. So we're 2-2 on this game. So we'll see. We'll see how this plays out. But I definitely think it's going to be a very, very interesting game on Sunday night. That gets us to the last game of the slate. Dolphins at Rams, Monday Night Football. The Rams are 1.5-point favorites in this game against the Dolphins. Miami, as I mentioned earlier, lost a heartbreaking game to the Buffalo Bills in a game that they were actually, pretty, they were in that game majority of the game. That could just be a product of the AFC East or Buffalo kind of playing with their food a little bit, but the team has looked a lot better since Tua's came back. Tua's been back for 2 games. They lost both of those games, but that was against Arizona and the Bills. And the offense has played. They've scored over 27 points in all of they scored exactly 27 points in both of those games. The offense looks like it's clicking again. Tyreek Hill wasn't traded, despite a lot of people saying that he might be traded back to the Kansas City Chiefs at the trade deadline. I never thought it was going to happen, but I'm glad that it didn't. The team is still the same squad that has been. The offense is still, relatively dangerous, and the Rams are getting healthy. And we said this a couple of weeks ago. Guys like Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are back. Puka Nacua did get kicked out of the game last week because he threw a punch, I believe it was, in the Seattle win in Seattle. But this team has won 3 straight, and they've shown the ability to get themselves right back into the mix for the playoffs, for the division, and they look to be trying to do the same thing here. So Matt Stafford, the Rams hosting the Dolphins Monday Night Football, 1.5 point favorites. Levon, what are you thinking?
McVay, is McDaniels from that tree?
McDaniels came. I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna look up where he was beforehand. But go ahead,
McDaniels was the
I'll tell
49ers.
you.
Yeah. Wait, so
Was McDaniels on the
Shanahan?
49ers?
Yeah, he was the 49ers.
Okay, but him and McVay have history though. They either both came from Frisco under Shanahan.
It all comes back from it all goes back to Shanahan. Then they got split up.
So basically, which one of them knows what they both do better than the other one at the end of the day? And which quarterback runs that offense better? Which offense is more equipped to do it? Miami. I don't know about Miami. It's just something about Miami that doesn't register. I think Tua should be sitting down somewhere. We've already discussed this. They played tough last week, but that's a division game. Sometimes those are hard to judge. Even though I knew Buffalo was going to take them down. I think the Rams are really hard to beat at home, and with that offense healthy, does Miami's defense have enough to keep them at bay? I think that's a shootout game Monday night. I think that game's a shootout, and then a shootout with two coaches that pretty much play the same belief and system and how they do things. I like the Rams. I like the Rams to win that game in a huge score game. I think that's going to be a light show on Monday night. I really do. But yeah, give me St. Louis. No, give me LA.
And
Wow, taking it back.
before you pick Levon, you are correct. I thought this was the case. Mike McDaniel and Sean McVay were on that heralded 2011 Washington squad that was head coached by Mike Shanahan. The offensive coordinator was Kyle Shanahan. And Sean McVay was the tight ends coach. Mike McDaniel was the offensive assistant, and Matt LaFleur was the quarterbacks coach.
Crazy.
So all coaches that are
talent.
now coaching and coaching well at the highest level were all part of a team that went 5-11 that year. So with all of that coaching talent, Washington only went 5-11 that year. So I want to make sure that, and they finished last in the division in 2011. I think that's the year. That's not the year that the Giants won. Did the Giants win the Super Bowl in 2011, or did they win it in 2012, like January?
No. Yeah, it's always weird. Everybody says 11, so I'm gonna say 11 because it's like they say the 2011 Giants. I think it was a 2011 team. I don't think it was 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I just want to note that. But yes, they do have obviously a history with one another. They coached together in Washington that year. And over to you.
I just want to say while we're recording this, the Ravens scored 21 points and came back to 28, so 21 right now. But anyway, I'm going to go with the Rams, and I'm going to take the Rams in the over. Yes, both teams run similar styles, but I think I'm going to use an old school term. I think the Dolphins are fugazi. They got exposed last year in the playoffs, and I believe until they fix that, they're not really going to go anywhere against especially a good team that can rack it up points as just as much as them. But I'm going to take the over because you never know what's going to happen on this one. And yes, Tua should be sitting down like Levon said, but this team cannot run without Tua. Ooh, nice touchdown there. So anyway, but I'm going to take the Rams. I'm going to take the over this one. Bengals just scored a touchdown, 28 up.
Yeah, I'm going with the Rams too, and thank you, Anthony. You're like your TV is like maybe some time before mine, so I didn't see the play until just now. Jamar Chase touchdown.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yes, Jamar, don't toy with them. Just cross the goal line there, please. Please stop being a jerk. Um, Go LSU. I'm going with the Rams here as well. I'm locking this in. This is my final lock of the week. Um, and I'm going to go to the other side of the ball. I think that what the Rams have shown me thus far in the last, 3 weeks, in their last three victories, is their defense is coming along. Their defense is very young. I've mentioned this a couple of times before. It's extremely young defense. Rookies all up and down that defense, and Levon has made a point of saying that the reason why that had to happen is because they sold pretty much everything that they had to buy that championship back in 2021, and they're reaping what they sowed, but they've been a playoff team the last year, and they've not, and it looks like they might be back in the mix this year. So not a bad team, not a bad way to do. You got to do it. You got to do what you got to do sometimes, and they did it and they won. But that said, I think the Dolphins are a improving team, but they're not the better team in this situation. Obviously, McVay knows a lot about McDaniel and the way that he runs offenses, the way that he calls his plays, because they coach together. So I wouldn't be surprised if everything that the Dolphins try to do, the Rams have seen, and vice versa. So I think this is a relatively close game, but I think this is a game that ultimately the Rams win by 3 to 6 points. And so because this number is so low at 1.5, I'll go ahead and take the Rams. I'll lock this in, and I will take the over as well. I think the over is probably even a more fun lock to roll with here. All right, so that's our picks. Before we get into our shout outs, just let me run through the locks again. So Ace has 4 locks this week. He has the Bears, the Steelers, the Jets, and the Eagles. Ant has our customary 6. He has the Bills, the Chiefs, the 49ers, the Steelers, the Cardinals, and the Lions. Levon has 4 picks, four locks as well. He has the Giants, the Chiefs, the Falcons, and the Steelers. And I have the Vikings, Chiefs, Chargers, Eagles, Lions, and Rams. And Levon is not giving me credit for the Chargers, even though, I should get credit for that. It's an obvious lock. And he likes to do hidden locks. But he only did 4 hidden locks this week, so whatever.
I mean,
call it what it's worth.
You gotta these are gold locks. These are gold locks. They mean
golden
a lot.
Locks. Okay.
Golden locks.
Okay. All right, let's get to these shout outs. And I'm very, very happy that this game has turned into this Cincinnati and Baltimore game has turned into the shootout that I was hoping it would be, because that means Lamar Jackson is doing very well for me in fantasy football. But Levon, I'm gonna start with you in shout outs. And when I say that, he throws a pick. Anthony, why didn't you say something before I said that?
I was trying to keep quiet.
Oh gosh. Levon, give me your shout outs because I'm done.
I don't really have any significant shout outs. I mean, this week was really, it's not a political show, but we all know what happened. So it's tough to shake that off. That's the big news. And give any shout outs when it comes to sports. Basketball season's getting started. No, shout out to Ace, our host, wherever he is, whatever he's doing. I thought he would have been eavesdropping and jumping in on this pod at some point, but he must be pretty busy. But shout out to Ace. Hope everything is good with him and his fam.
Yeah, he's on daddy duty, so he's got a new baby. That's why he's been in and out for the last few shows. But yeah, shout out to Ace, definitely.
Let's be real. He's changing diapers.
Dealing with real life. He probably is. Feeding a baby and changing diapers, and that's a tough task, for anybody. Ant.
Yep, I'm not gonna be political either. I don't want to be political, but shout outs to the toilet paper companies. You guys won. Everybody better be stocking up on toilet paper. You know what happened last time. That's the last thing I'm gonna be political about. Shout outs to that. Shout outs to that. What's her name? What's her name again? Rachel Rygun Gunn. You made a mockery of breakdancing in the Olympics, and now you're being retired. Shout outs to you that you made your 10 seconds of fame or whatever money that you might have sneakily snuck underneath there. Shout outs to you on that one. Shout outs to all the coaches on the hot seat: Mike McCarthy, Antonio Pierce, Doug Pearson, Mike Eberflus, Gerard Mayo, Brian Dable, Kevin Stefanski, Mike McDaniels, Nick Sirianni, and David Kennels, whatever his name is on Panthers. Shout outs to you.
Oh, Canales. Yeah.
Canales. Shout outs to Dak Prescott. I can't wait to see you in another uniform next year. My prediction will come true. Guaranteed. Rest in peace, Quincy Jones. And also shout outs to Malik. You might know him later on down the road. I don't know if you know him now. Shout outs to David Bodine. If you don't know who David Bodine is, he's the guy who made the nice little famous hat with the cheese grater. He's the cheese grater guy.
Oh, yes. I did see the picture of him. Yes.
Shout out to him.
Yeah.
He's a legend. Because nobody never thought about doing that. I've never seen it before. I don't know if you saw it before, Malik, but I've never seen it before. He's a legend.
A legend.
It's been worn before. So I've just full disclosure. And unless you were done, are you done with your shout outs?
Oh, yeah, I'm done. Shout outs to
okay.
that. I'm done.
Okay. It has been worn before. But the Lions weren't winning. So it didn't kind of go anywhere. So I think, it would just so happen. It just happened to be funny that obviously this was Fox Game of the Week. The Lions were handling business and they caught this guy wearing the cheese grater hat, in Lambeau Field. It just was, poetic, I guess, to say the least. And
stuff of legends.
Yes. Shout out to him. But that actually leads to my other shout out. Shout out to Lions fans in general. The team itself, as proud as I am of this team, I am even more proud of Lions fans. And the reason why is because Lions fans, and I experienced this myself last year when the Lions played the Saints last December. I went to New Orleans. I attended the game. And in my subdued fashion, I did not wear any Lions gear. I did not. I actually had brought my Barry Sanders jersey with me on the trip, but I chose not to wear it because I said, you know what? I'm just going to be a chill fan. I went there, I had my hoodie on, I was chilling out or whatever. I did wear, I think it said some Lion socks or something like that on or whatever. I did wear those because I brought those with the trip. But when I got there, not only was I, pleasantly surprised at the fact that like 70% of the fans that were there were Lions fans, but they were loud. They were, tailgating in New Orleans and just kind of doing the damn thing. And they have done this every single week since then. Last week in Green Bay was no different. There were tons of Lions fans there, and they're coming out to support the hell out of this team. And it's hilarious. But every week, whether they're on the road or at home, every week when the Lions are winning and the Lions are playing well, you hear the Jared Goff chant, which started during that playoff game against the Rams last season, where the Lions fans were in such support of Jared Goff that they just started chanting his name throughout the stadium, and they have done it everywhere. You hear it every time the Lions get up and they have the game in hand. So shout out to them because they are bringing energy to this team, and it's showing across the board. Shout out to, I've never done this shout out before to LeBron James, but shout out to LeBron James because he is attempting something in year 22 of his career that, is just shocking because of the time. LeBron James is attempting to play 82 games this season. He is attempting to not miss any basketball games in the NBA season. And I don't know about you, but in today's NBA, with guys like Joel Embiid deciding not to play game one of the year, even though he's not listed as having an actual injury, and guys, like Kawhi Leonard, who can never seem to be healthy enough to play basketball games for the Clippers, but seemed like he was healthy enough to give it a shot for the Olympic team. Being able to play 82 games is a feat, especially for a guy that is at his age with the amount of miles on his miles on his tires that he has. Now, the Knicks, Mikal Bridges has been playing 82 games for like every year since he hasn't missed a game since high school. So take that for what it's worth in terms of this, like the overall impressiveness of this. And, customarily players in the 80s and the 90s and probably the early 2000s played 82 games in a season. So it's not something that's like brand new, but from LeBron, year 22, it actually is. So shout out to him for doing this or for taking this on as a potential option for him. I think that's it. Oh, last but not least, LeVon was talking a little bit about the Yankees earlier. Shout out to Juan Soto. Listen, I don't know who's going to pay you. I hope the Yankees do pay you and bring you back because you're an incredible player. But just because we're a Yankee does not mean that you're up for auction to the highest bidder. And if somebody wants to give you $600 million and the Yankees don't, then you go to that team. Go get your bag, dude. Get what you need. Get what you feel like you're worth. My personal feeling is that you're worth whatever the Yankees, the Yankees should be willing to pay you whatever, because you really, really helped. You were the main reason why the team was any good last during the season. Why the team was able to take that leap and get themselves from being a middling playoff squad to being a World Series contender. So get your bag. Do what you got to do. And last but not least, I will be a little bit political here, and I will say shout out to those that voted with me on Halloween, because voting on Halloween is a freaking vibe. I will be voting on Halloween from now on. I will kid you not. I saw a guy dressed as Michael Myers walk into the poll with the mask. He had to take the mask off to show his face when he showed his ID, but he had the mask on. And he was voting I don't know who he voted for. I could care less who he voted for. I couldn't take my phone out to take a picture of him, but seeing Michael Myers cast a vote on Halloween, that means I'm going to vote on Halloween from here on in. It was amazing. It was incredible. I enjoyed the hell out of it. And despite, say what you want about the results of it, and I'm just so happy that there's no more ads on TV for the
thank God,
for the candidates, because that was annoying as hell. Say what you want for the next 4 years. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out how to get through it. We always do. But shout out to those folks that were out there voting with me on Halloween. I got to see a bunch of characters. And I think that might actually, if there was anything that could get me to wear a costume on Halloween, that would be it. So I'll be voting every year on Halloween from here on in. All right. Ready to roll out?
I got one that just came to me.
One more? Okay.
Yeah. Shout out to whoever designed these Raven uniforms and helmets for this game. They're horrendous. It looks like,
I was gonna say, I was like, you like them?
It's like a sticker on the side of the helmet at the last minute. It is awful.
That sticker, that thing is so bad. That Raven is really bad.
Oh, awful.
Yeah.
But multi-billion-dollar industry there. And they put that together just yesterday. I'm sure of it. Anyway.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I was really getting ready to be like, wait, he likes this thing? Surprising.
Absolutely not.
Shout out to Ace and his Ravens. I hope he's enjoying it, sitting somewhere with the sun and enjoying this game. It's a really good game. All right, we're gonna roll up out of here. Follow us on all the socials, and hope you enjoy your betting week. Enjoy week 10, and we'll see you very soon. LSU and Alabama, great game. Go Tigers! I'll be watching that on Saturday night. Go Tigers! Till next time, peace out.
We out like Woody Johnson out of the United States.
Well, he's going to Germany now, so he doesn't have any. He's probably
is he?
No, I'm talking about whoever he's going to be ambassador.
I think he'll be in Germany for the game, right?
No, I'm talking about Woody Johnson. I'm talking about Woody Johnson going back to England. Because he's going to be an ambassador. Go back over there.
That's right. That's
the only thing good about this that came out these elections. Get your ass over there.
Maybe that means the Jets will, the lead
Jets might start winning again. Yes, because the Jets was actually doing good before his dumbass came back. He left. He was horrible.
Super early tomorrow. My kids got to be to school at 7.
You didn't pick him, so whatever.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Peace.
See y'all later.
Oh, you forgot to